I'm speaking with UFC veteran Jeremy Kennedy, who's going to be taking on Danyel Pilo at Brave 14. That goes August 18th in Morocco. Thanks so much for doing this, Jeremy.
Thanks a lot for having me.
So, before we talk about Danielle and that fight and what you think of him as an opponent, let's just jump back a little bit. How did this contract with Brave come about? You're coming off the loss to Alexander Volkanovski, your first professional loss yet. So, how did that come about?
Yeah, I was in like a tough position right away. Going 3-1 is good in the promotion, but I wanted to stay active and I wanted to bounce back right away because I wasn't happy with that performance, and there's a lot of things that went wrong there, and I was just in the UFC ear like, hey, I want to get this new contract re-signed because I finished my 4 fights.
Yeah.
And it was just moving way too slow, and they kept pushing back the date. They're saying end of the summer, but then there's no guarantees, and it was just like really vague and very smoky. So I just kind of started looking elsewhere as well, just to see my options, but not really expecting anything to be able to come close or anything. So I was planning on just having to stick it out and wait. And then I reached out to Brave because I'd been out to a few of their shows cornering one of my buddies, and I connected with them really well. So then I reached out to them and just seeing what they were kind of offering, and it was perfect. It met all my expectations, and the biggest thing was the fact that they wanted to be able to keep me busy. Like, it was a 3-fight contract, and they were even expressing that not looking past anybody or anything, but the timeline, they said I could fight however often I wanted, and they showed me the amount of events they plan on doing in what months, and so it's just a little bit nicer as us fighters, man. It's like you can never really plan your life around anything because the UFC at any time can just be like, okay, here, you're fighting in 6 or 8 weeks against this person. This is where you're fighting. And if you ever say no, like, I don't even know, like, no one's been dumb enough to, you probably get benched or shelved for a long time, where these guys, I kind of know my fight schedule at least for the next year. So it's perfect.
Yeah, and there's a couple elements to this as well that I'm guessing apply to you. I mean, one on the financial end, right? I mean, for fighters like yourself, you're a promising fighter, but let's face it, at the lower end of the pay scale in terms of the UFC. So I'm guessing that you're probably not really in a position where you can afford to sit around for like
No,
6-8 months.
I can't just sit out for
Yeah.
6 to 8 and not get paid. This is my job, and that's the thing. I'm not making the higher end. I was still on my first contract in the UFC, so going to Brave, the money was, it was pretty close, and just the fact that I'm able to fight so often, I think is going to be what's going to be huge for me, and just staying active is how you get better. Constantly fighting and improving. You can stay in the gym and be a gym fighter for forever, and not be able to actually truly put it to test in the cage. And I just want to get these fights going. I don't want to be a gym fighter. You only have so many years of this, and I want to be able to travel, get these fights under my belt, keep moving forward.
And also, I mean, you're only 25 years old, so you've got lots of time to put some more wins together. And after this contract, come back to the UFC, probably a better bargaining position, right?
Yeah, like that's never out of the cards.
Yeah.
But it's not, UFC be all end all. There's tons of other promotions out there too. I might even shop around again. I didn't spend too much time shopping around one championship or Bellator or PFL or any of those other ones. I just kind of these guys were willing to pay me right and keep me busy, and I like the matchups. I like the area they're in. It's a whole different market. I'm not a Middle Eastern area and Africa and stuff like that, somewhere I've never been or experienced. So there's a lot of appetizing things about the contract, so I kind of jumped on it.
Well, let's talk about Daniel, your opponent. Also, has an impressive record like yourself. He's located and he fights out of Italy. Have you seen much tape on him? Do you know much about him?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of footage out on him, except for I think his last fight or maybe two. But prior to that, they're all out there. I watched it like when the fight first got brought to my attention and they first gave me his name. I hit a quick YouTube and Google search and figured out what he's about, but I haven't been really sitting down and studying his game because this is going to be more so what I've been working with my coaches is just I've got to be dictating the pace, the tone, where the fight takes place, what I'm doing, and I want him to be focusing on what I'm doing, and it's got to be my show, and I got to be in there dictating everything and setting the pace, and so it doesn't really matter what he's doing, what he's good at, where he's good at. I think I'm better everywhere, so I've just got to be able to implement that.
Yeah, something that's I think changed since I last talked to you. I saw an interview you did with James Lynch, and you were talking about. It sounds like you're residing part time in Vegas and doing some training out of there. So, is that still the case? And talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I made the move down here. It's not like a permanent move. I'm just mostly doing my bulk of training, and all my training camps will be down here. And I'll go home for a little bit of rest after my fights, but for the most part, I'll be down in Vegas. And yeah, it's been a huge move for me, man. It's perfect. I'm pushed every single day. There's a lot less, I guess you would say, responsibilities. I'm out here strictly focusing on training. In between training, I'm just resting, recovering, eating properly, and getting ready for the next session. And I found I've recovered and bounced back way better. Every session is, a real quality session. And I'm not driving around everywhere. Everything's pretty close. So and the bodies is just, unparalleled. You got tons of bodies, my weight class, bunch of featherweights, to train with that are, I think, I look around at my sparring rounds and I'm like, I think all these guys would be a harder fight, in a sense of I'm getting harder training. You train hard so the fight's easy, and that kind of mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you're from where I'm at. I'm in Surrey as well, but there's a lot of great schools in this area, and there's certainly some great fighters that have come out of this area, but there's just not a lot of professional fight teams out here, right? So I'm guessing that just the abundance of sparring and training partners and coaches as well in Vegas is just, it's got to be no comparison.
Oh, exactly. And it's just there is fighters back in the mainland, but it's, to get them all in one room at one time, it's just not realistic. Everyone's got different jobs and they're all different cities of the lower mainland. You're driving out to, 40 minutes out the other direction, and it's a lot more legwork, and it's just harder to get those bodies all together. And we're out here, it's just I show up at the gym and I have no doubt there's going to be at least 20 to 30 guys all ready to test me fully.
What about the cost of living? Is it cheaper in Vegas than here?
It is, but the dollar sucks, so being Canadian not help. But yeah. I came down here. I just realized that I don't do the conversion in my head anymore. You buy a $2 coffee and it turns into a whatever it is Canadian. You just can't do that anymore in your head. Yeah. You just got to. And other than that, it's super cheap. Everything from food to gas to rent, everything is a lot cheaper than back home. So it's actually saving me money being down here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know because of Vegas, it's recovered somewhat, and it will always be a tourist spot. But I know I've had friends who lived in Vegas, and especially after the great recession hit in 2008, 2009-ish, pricing down there, the cost of living dropped considerably, and so you saw even some fighters move there, in part because of that reason, because the cost of living just became so much more affordable.
Oh, exactly. It's just been a good move all around.
So who are some of the, where are some of the gyms that you're training out of, and who are some of the coaches that have been helping you get ready?
So I was working out of the PI a lot, and then I still kind of stop in there every once in a while and work with guys that are still under the contract with UFC. And I created a good relationship with everyone over at the Performance Institute. But I've been doing a bulk of my training. Extreme Couture is my home gym, my main gym, and I do a lot of work with Eric Miksic and Dennis Davis and Eddie Baracco. And then I head out to 10th Planet in Henderson, which is a little bit, it's 15, 20 minutes away. And that's considered far out here,
Yeah.
And it's it's a good jiu-jitsu gym, so I do a lot of my grappling out there, and I pretty much split my time between those two gyms. But I got a lot of good training partners, just in the area, and it's like a fight community here. There's guys that train over at Syndicate that I cross-train with at 10th Planet, and there's guys that you don't see unless you see them at Extreme, and just stuff like that. But there's tons of good bodies.
See, that's interesting because you definitely are very well regarded for your grappling abilities, and you train with Bibio Fernandez, who's a god when it comes to jiu-jitsu, one FC champ too. But what's your take? Was the 10th Planet, was that something that you were using in the rubber guard, etc. before, or is this something that you kind of immersed yourself in more recently?
Yeah, I haven't really used the 10th Planet system. Okay. I don't really use it too much just because my style has always been, real top-heavy, smash pass, MMA wrestling kind of guy, right? So I don't want to change too much stuff. But I just mostly go over there to work with Coach Casey, who's the instructor there.
Yeah.
And he adapts really well to MMA. And so it's a lot more like MMA practices and MMA grappling. And he's just got a lot of good bodies there when I go there at night for jiu-jitsu and just to roll, and you got different looks with guys, jumping at your legs and stuff like that. And they're all really good to roll with because they know, athletes, like MMA fighters who come in, we make money with our bodies. So they roll really, aggressive, but not crazy or spazzy or anything like that.
Yeah, and then you've also got, 10th Planet's no-gi system, so from that element too, you've got a lot of I'm guessing, good guys there.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a lot of good guys, and then a lot of MMA fighters from around town go there as well,
While I have you, I wanted to get your take on the lost Alexander, and you mentioned some things went wrong in that, and then I guess the second part to that is he has a lot of hype and buzz behind him, and I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on that and how far you think he may be able to go.
I'm not making excuses, so I don't really want to tap into, what was going on with me. At the end of the day, I lost, so that's that. But I think he's doing great. The better he does is obviously better for me. I'm glad he didn't go out there and, flip on a banana peel and lose to Darren Elkins, and then that would have just looked bad, where we're here. Elkins was definitely, I think, one of the easier fights in the top 10. So he got a good matchup and he capitalized great. He smashed Elkins, and now he's a top 10 guy. And my only loss is to a top 10 featherweight in the world. That's the only way I can look at it. I hope one day I can get that one back for sure. Because I know that wasn't me in there, but I'm not one of those guys that are going to be like, hey, I fought with this and that, and if I took the fight, I own it, and that's all I'm going to say about it.
He's been campaigning for a fight with Chad Mendes, who obviously is one of the greatest 145ers of this, the last 10 years. What's your take on that?
I personally think that's a bad fight for him. That's the fight I would like to see. But Mendes came out, he looked like a monster, and I just think that kind of style, that short, compact style, will give Alex a lot of trouble because that's something he's not used to. He's used to being the shorter, compact wrestler type guy, and I think a fight that's more realistic because, I think Mendes has got to be up there like 2 or 3 now once they put him back where he belongs. But I would like to see him against Mirsad Bektic. That's a good. Yeah. They're both kind of area, both same build, similar styles. So I think that's the fight that I would like to. If I was a matchmaker, if I was Sean Shelby, that's the one I would be putting together.
Last question for you, because we are both here in British Columbia, out of here. We mentioned the fact that there's not like a lot of necessarily like fight teams, like on par, say, with some of the big ones that people think of, like the TriStars and the MMA Labs, etc. But what's your overall, and you're someone who's from this neck of the woods, and then you've gone south. So what is your kind of overall assessment of where, MMA is at here in the Lower Mainland?
It's got a lot of potential. It's like I said, it's hard when you have such a big area, like, from Abbotsford to Vancouver and all the cities in between.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to get, one solid room where everyone's willing to work together. And then there's a little bit of like, a lot of gyms don't like to cross-train and don't like to send their students to other places, and you just got to squash all that. And once people start looking at the bigger picture of, train within BC and fight outside of BC, or fight against people outside of BC, you don't ever have to worry about, I don't want to train with this guy because I might fight him. That's never even a thought here in Vegas. It's just something I've noticed. Everyone's kind of just training to go fight elsewhere, and I think that's a big thing that'll help people move on, and just everyone should be able to be openly cross-trained with everyone in the Lower Mainland, and that's how you'll get the best training, and then that's how it'll grow. But while everyone's staying in one room, in their own gyms, you'll have a few good guys in each gym, and that's it. You do 100 rounds with those people, and then it's almost, effortless anymore. So you need to mix it up. You need different bodies, different guys to push you, and stuff like that.
Actually, one last question. Do you happen to know if people want to check out Brave 14 and your fight with Pilo, do you know how they can? Is it online pay-per-view, or how that works?
It'll be, online through Flow Combat. So I think if you have a subscription with Flow Combat, you get it, they'll air it. So that's a pretty big website and streaming. They do a lot of jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. So, everyone should be pretty familiar with it. And if not, it's a simple Google search, because they will pop up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good to know. Jeremy Kennedy taking on Danyel Pilo. That goes August 18th at Brave 14. Jeremy, thanks so much for doing this, and best of luck in a couple weeks' time.
Awesome. Thank you very much.